Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you are going to be listening to, it comes from a WhatsApp voice note that I received. Then we had to try as much as we could to give you this translation. The translation reads like this. Hello brother Nashi, how are you? I am a Ndebele speaking woman. My Shona is not that good, but I will try as much as I can. So my story goes on like this. I am a lady who is aged 47 years old. I have two kids. These two kids of mine, they are currently living out of the country, but I am staying all alone here in Zim, but I am staying with some of my grandkids. When I was 17 years, that was when I met this other man. He was a Shona speaking man and he was a soldier. At the time when I met my late husband, he was stationed just close to the neighborhood where I used to stay. So as I was going up and down, that was when me and him met. After he had proposed love to me, I then returned back to him and I told him that I loved him too. But the problem was that, Brother Nash, there was this other police officer whom I was in love with, but he was not yet married. So even my parents, they thought that I was going to get married to that police officer. But no, my brother, I had my own plans. I was in love with this man who was a soldier because of the way that he used to take care of me. As for that police officer, I had seen that in his phone he had a lot of contacts that were of girls, different girls, even though he had denied, but I knew some of the numbers that he had saved on his phone. So I was very suspicious of him, but at that time he was not yet cheating on me. But at our place, everyone knew that this was the man that I was going to get married to. Then, my brother, when I finally made my decision, that man that I had been dating all along, who was a police officer, he was truly heartbroken from the time that I told him that I had fallen pregnant for him, because for many years that I had been dating him, I had refused to have any intercourse with her or to be intimate with him. I had told him that if he loved me, he was supposed to wait for me, and if he was going to wait patiently for me, then on the day that I was going to become his wife, like officially, then he would have the honor to take away my virginity. So for about 2 years, when I was dating that police officer, he had kept his word and he kept on telling me that this whole thing of us not having intercourse until we got married, it was pushing him to work even harder because he saw that I was a wife material. But what he didn't know is that on the side I had other plans. As soon as that soldier came into the picture, I then decided to get married to that man. I don't know, maybe he used some sort of muti on me, because after he had slept with me, that was when he started telling me a lot of stories. He told me that ever since they were still little, their grandfather used to prepare some herbs for them so that they can be strong in bed. And indeed, this guy, Brother Nashi, he was too strong in bed. So many times when I would have finished making love to him, I would feel that I was too exhausted. I could not even lift a finger. So when I asked him why he was so strong like that in bed, that was when he told me that his grandfather was a man who knew a lot of African herbs, and from a very young age, their grandfather used to give them a lot of herbs so that they can be very strong in bed. So the way that I just accepted to get into bed with him, I was very suspicious of him that maybe he used some charms on me. But anyways, I loved him so much, Brother Nashi. When I fell pregnant for him, I told him that he was supposed to marry me like ASAP, and he agreed. So on the chosen date, they came, then they paid for my bride price, but still I had to stay with my parents because when I fell pregnant, I was sick almost all the times. And that man whom I dated first, that police officer, after he had known that I had been married off to another guy. He told me that me and him, we were going to be in this relationship until death do us apart. My brother, whenever he kept on mentioning death, I never thought that tragedy was going to happen in my marriage, because as far as I knew, I had already moved on and I didn't love him anymore. I kept on telling him that he should move on with his life, because even though he had spent a lot of money on my parents, especially on one of my youngest sister, because when my younger sister was about to write a grade 7, my parents didn't have the money that was needed for the exam fees. Then that police officer guy that I was dating, he then took his money that he had budgeted. He told me that he wanted to buy a car with that money, but he said that he loved me so much and he wanted to show me that he loved me a lot. So he gave me the money and I went and I gave my parents the money. So by the time that I started dating that soldier, that was when my parents got so angry, because they knew of all the sacrifices that the police officer had done in the name of love. Then when this man kept on pressurizing me, I then went and I spoke with my cousin sister. I asked my cousin sister what I was supposed to do in this situation, because this guy kept on mentioning death. He said that he knew that he can no longer be with me 100%, but he said, please just give me 1% of your heart. So I then went and I spoke with my cousin sister, and my cousin sister said, just give him at least 1% or 2% so that this guy won't commit suicide in your name. So one day I called that guy and I told him that, of course, we can continue dating, but what he was supposed to know was that I was a married woman now and he should never disrespect my husband. I was the one who was supposed to call him. He was never supposed to call me. I had memorized his phone number, so there was no need to save his number anymore. I told him that I was the one who was supposed to set up the appointments if I ever wanted to see him. Then he agreed. He said that he was willing to do anything for me. And he said that he was never going to get married because in his heart, I was the only woman that he wanted to get married to. Life continued, Brother Nashi. I was sleeping with 2 men at the same time. But as for that police officer, I was not sleeping with him all the times. I would only sleep with him when my husband had been moved to another spot. That was when I would sleep with that police officer. So it happened that my brother, he had gone to visit his other relative that was very sick. The relative was there in Harare. So I thought that he would never return back home like that, because when he went to Harare, he didn't have money to buy the ticket to return back to Bulawayo. I was the one who was supposed to send him the money. So when my husband had gone to visit his relative, I then thought of calling that police officer. At that time, rumors were going around and I heard that he had been dating this other high school student. So I wanted to question him about it. You know, when you are sleeping with a guy, even if you do not care that much about him, but the moment that you share the same bed, there is just some chemistry that happens. When I heard those rumors, I wanted to confront him and I wanted to ask him if this was the truth. And I had told myself that if this guy was now in a relationship with this younger lady, then it meant that me and him, we had to break things up. I was a little bit happy, even though I was feeling jealousy. That man came. When he came, we spoke. It was somewhere around 8 p.m. The more that we spoke, the more that we led each other into my bedroom. Then we slept, Brother Nashi. We only slept with each other only once. Then at around 10 p.m. That was when I saw flashing lights, and immediately I knew that this was my husband who had returned, and I didn't know what to do anymore, because the way that he parked his car, it was as if he knew everything that was going on in the bedroom. At the place where we were staying, there were these fitted wardrobes, so I tried to hide that man in one of the fitted wardrobe, because my husband, the way that he had rushed into the yard, there was no time for me to react. So after I had hidden that police officer in the fitted wardrobe, I then waited for my husband to come knocking on the bedroom door, thinking that I will be able to control my husband, and I was ready to apologize to him. So I opened the door. Whilst I was calling his name, trying to calm him down, when he entered into the bedroom, he started searching around, and at that time I didn't realize that he had a gun that was hidden somewhere. So when I saw that he didn't have any weapon at all, I thought that even if he was going to find out that there was another man who was in the bedroom, at least he didn't have any weapon at all, but he had a gun that was hidden just underneath his long jacket. He kept on looking around until he opened one of the doors to that fitted wardrobe, and he found out that in that fitted wardrobe there was that same police officer. They started fighting, Brother Nashi, and the next thing that I heard, there was an echo that was just everywhere. It was as if my ears were ringing. Everything had happened so fast. The echo had been caused by a gunshot. As they had been fighting like that, my late husband had shot that police officer in the chest. I was too shocked to realize what was going on. When I looked at these two men who were lying on top of each other, I just collapsed the moment that I saw that there was blood that was flowing everywhere. Some of it was just going underneath the bed. Then I saw my husband getting up on his knees. I don't know what he wanted to do, but he mistakenly shot himself. I think that on that night he wanted to shoot me and he wanted to shoot the kids. After that he would have shot himself, but as he was getting up to his knees, I don't know what happened. The gun went off again and he collapsed. He had shot himself in the stomach. This is the way that my husband and that police officer that I used to date died. All of them, they died. I once heard a story about that woman who was asking you, how is it possible that one can live a normal life when you know that you have caused the death of another one? You can try to live a normal life, but it is like you can only live a normal life for about a minute or so, and after that the thoughts will come back rushing to you, and when they come back rushing to you, it will be like a flood. You will keep on telling yourself that you are the reason as to why someone had to die. And in my case, Brother Nashi, 2 men had to die because of me. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear listeners. Then we had to try as much as we could to give you this translation.